No way. You swallowed it?
Yeah, I do. I swallow gum
It's
all the
there
time.
for
if I have
8
to.
years.
That's a man right
Bro,
there.
I cannot swallow.
That's a real man right there.
I
That's
just can't do it.
It'll just come out the back end. What do you mean?
That's gonna be a sticky situation.
You're gonna blow a bubble back there.
You can blow it.
All right, welcome back to part 1, episode 2. I'm your host Ilya. I'm joined here with my co-host Ed, and today we have a very special guest, a young hustler by the name of Max Shulyak, owner of Prime Built Construction. Max, welcome to the podcast, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be on here. First podcast being on them. I've always listened to a bunch of podcasts, so I always had the thought in the back of the head. It's like, hey, maybe it'd be cool to be on one day. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Illy comes up and he's like, "Yo, you're gonna be on the podcast." No,
Yeah, man.
no choice. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
no
Max.
choice. That's how we
So-
negotiate.
That's right.
Don't let him leave.
There is no middle ground. Yes or no.
Yeah, man. Well, you stood out, man. You're young, dude. You're hustling. You're doing something right. So I definitely wanted to hear your story, your come up. Like, how did Prime Built come up? You know, can you tell me what is Prime Built Construction?
So Prime Built Construction, we've adjusted over the years, but as it says in the name, we're a construction company. We'll do full service construction, and the reason I chose Prime Built Construction, so like I did masonry since I was like 12 years old with my dad, and then in 2016 he went to the trucking industry. I went and opened my own business, and you know, customers out there are never the ones that want to call 50 different people and have, okay, I got to call a landscaper, I got to call a framer, I got to call the tile guy, I got to call this guy, this guy, this guy. So it's like, why don't I open a business that's like a full service company where I can come in and I can, you know, most customers are like, oh, you do that? Oh, you do that? I'm like, yeah, we do everything.
You're that one-stop shop for all of your
Yeah,
construction
so
needs.
on our van, it says one-stop shop for your interior, exterior, and landscaping needs. So customers don't have to call anybody. They're just one call, boom, we get it taken care of.
Hey, that's awesome, man.
Okay, you mentioned this aspect of you said that you started masonry at 12.
This was in Mexico, child labor laws.
So
Well,
that's the big thing. I know your dad had that company.
Yeah, your dad was pretty big in masonry, wasn't he?
Masonry.
Like,
Yeah.
Was it Mason Company?
masonry.
Advanced
Masonic
Masonry was the
Temple.
company, so I kind of helped him get the company name
What did you
and
do?
all
What
that.
did you do? Like at 12 years old. Like how did that happen?
Hauling bricks, age 13, you were laying bricks. There was no in between. It wasn't like, oh, go get a bucket of water. It's like, nah, you're mixing the mud and you're handing the bricks.
Oh, jeez.
11 in each arm.
I
So-
remember there was one time. So actually, Max is my cousin. So that's
What?
what.
I
Yeah.
had no idea.
But I remember,
Yeah.
Max. Oh my gosh, he was much
What
better.
happened, Ed?
Much better than me at construction. But I remember, like, very early age. So the way when you would cut bricks or like stones or whatever, you have to like cut them very precisely. And like this is like how fast is that saw going?
It's like, so it
A
depends
lot of
on which one,
rotation.
but it's
It's
like
huge.
14,000 RPM.
Whatever
Some
it
of
is.
them are.
Well, because it's stone, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you're cutting a piece that's like this big already, and you're cutting it down, and so you're holding it, and you're like right there as a kid. So and like if you don't hold it tight enough, it'll flick it out.
Yeah, so if you have to place saw not close to any windows or cars, because it will literally, if you don't hold on to that brick, that sucker go fly away. So,
What 12 to 14 years old over here
Why
with
do
our
I-
fingers right up in a
so
saw.
if it's a family-owned business, then you could even have newborns on your job site if you really wanted to.
Why do I already know that you got some crazy stories about almost accidents or accidents happening on
Oh,
the street?
no,
my
there's
gosh,
plenty
yeah,
of
I've seen
those.
So many.
Oh, I've experienced plenty of those. You know, as in construction, you don't. Hospitals, like if you're dying, that's when you go to the hospital. You cut your
You lose a finger, so be it.
You're not dying.
At that point, you go to the hospital. But I've cut my pinky open. We just put a bunch of liquid bandages, wrapped it up, and called it good. Now you get this wonderful little click.
Oh yeah, you hear that? Dang.
I think it cut through a tendon, but I was like, well, glue, wrap it up, back to work. So.
Wow. So, man, tell me how you how did you come to the conclusion that you're going to start Prime Built Construction? Because I know we kind of grew up a little bit together, you and Ed more, but I was around, I guess you can say. But I know you were headed toward med school, brain surgeon. Or was it
Cardiothoracic surgeon, so heart
Cardiothoracic.
surgeon. Yeah, so yeah, the end goal was always, everyone's like, oh, you're gonna be a doctor one day, and then I kind of caught it on since childhood. I'm like, here I am working construction doctor. Yeah, right. I was like, I think I'm stuck here, but no. So yeah, I opened the business in 2016, which I was a junior in high school. And then, it wasn't super big then, didn't have any facial hair, so customers were like, what is this baby doing at our job sites?
Hey, man, stop
That's why I still have the facial hair. He's like, I still need customers.
It gives me a couple years, 5 years at least.
That's a requirement to be in the construction industry.
You have to have facial hair.
Exactly.
So if I was to ask, what's one tip you can give to someone that's getting construction? Grow facial hair.
Grow facial hair. Or, at the first couple years, the way I'd sell jobs is most contractors around, they'd come do a 15-minute, 20-minute client meeting and they'd bounce, like it was just super short. They'd give the customer a couple options, like, here are your options, anything else, don't even think about it. I'd come, we'd have like a 2-3 hour meeting, conversation about life, everything, the job. I'd show them a bunch of ideas, designs, and I said, whatever you guys want to make happen, just, guide me in that direction, we'll make it work. And that's, customers at that point didn't care. They're like, okay, we're going to go with this younger guy. He gave us way more options, way more selections. Why wouldn't we go with him?
Well, so how is exactly, like, just to get back to that question, was like, so because you're obviously a smart kid, if that's what you're trying to go doctor route. What was the switch? And because that's a pretty big switch.
Yeah.
So like to talk about kind of going through high school and then because you went to college as well.
Yep.
And then talk about that part and then the switch.
I had no idea. You went to college?
Yeah, I did.
Talk about the switch as well.
So finished high school, senior year, I was a great, A student all the way up to junior year. That's where it counted. And then senior is like half days I'd go to work. And I was like, whatever, kind of screw it. I still did good enough to, I passed all the classes with like B's or whatever. Got some scholarships. I had everything paid for at UNL. So I went to UNL. I started a major in biology with pre-med. Started finishing that up. Didn't fully get the bachelor degree. Did fill out a couple applications to med school. Some came back, accepted. And, I could have kept going easily.
How many years did you go?
I went 3 years.
3 years.
But that was so I did a lot more credits, so it combines into 2 years maybe. So instead of having
Oh, okay. So you went for 3 years, but since you had less credits.
No, I did more classes. So it basically.
How many credits were you taking a semester?
I don't even remember how that whole system works. So to be honest, I don't even remember exactly. But I know that if I were to do the full 4-year program, taking as many credits as I did, I could have finished the whole 4-year program in two and a half years instead of going a full 4 years kind of thing.
So you're 3 years in then?
Basically 3 years in, but it was taking me only 2 years.
So you're 2 years in, but you had 3 years done.
The equivalent.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
And all of this while you were working Prime Built?
No. So was Prime? So you didn't start with Prime Built. You just started as a subcontractor, and then you went into
Prime Built was open in 2016, so that was junior of high school.
Oh, so you opened it as a junior?
Yeah, so I started
college even?
When I was in high school. I was already a subcontractor for other companies. I was doing tile, I was doing flooring, different kind of stuff for handyman stuff,
right?
Just for different kind of people. So during high school, we were still doing stuff, and then in college, it was kind of more. Got into some bigger jobs where I started subbing other guys out. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing was probably after I shadowed a lot of heart surgeons. I probably shadowed 20 or more of them, all just everywhere. And just the quality of life, most of them, age 32 is probably when you only really fully finish everything, all your practicums, residencies. And then it's with nowadays prices, it's probably $1 million in debt. Before it was probably 300 and $500,000 or something like that. I don't know exact numbers, but you're that much in debt. You can't really, you don't have time to see your family. You're always on call 2 a.m, 4 a.m. It didn't matter if you get the phone call to come in. Usually it's one heart surgeon per hospital because you are making a pretty great salary. But it was
What
like
do heart surgeons usually make? Are they making like $500,000 a year, or are
Well,
they
they-
making
no,
it
half a
depends on
million
location,
is
I think.
yeah, location. I think
Location and
half a
need.
million is like after experience years in.
No.
First year out, you might make 250 or 150. You know,
That's
I don't
still not
know.
bad.
Yeah, but I'm saying 12 years invested, bro. You could be making.
That's
more than
horrible.
that.
yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
So that's really
That's-
where I saw it. I was like, in 12 years.
But I'm not knocking on
No.
them because we need
Yeah,
them.
no, yeah, we need them.
We
They're
need
great.
you.
Fuck.
But like, I was like, in 12 years, I could, take this construction company to a lot more than, just being a heart surgeon.
So how was the switch? What the switch? Like why did you choose? Because think about it. Like yes, 12 years. Was it the school? You didn't want to take that much time to go into that.
the school? And then I saw that the business was really like,
More opportunity.
I was providing a better service than most other companies out there. And then we really started just redoing a lot of jobs after other companies. And I was like, there's literally hardly any companies that do actually quality work and aren't going to cut corners. Like, if you open up a wall and you see that there's mold there or something's rotted, are you going to cover it because no customer's ever going to see it? Or are you going to actually be the person, even if you didn't include it in your bid, just to fix it? I guarantee you 90% of the time, if you fix it and then you show customer pictures that you fixed it, they're still going to pay you a change order, even if it, because you can't bid something that you don't see behind walls. You're not going to go to a customer and be like, I got to tear this wall down to give you a price, So, most of the time, customers will pay you there. But, yeah, the biggest switch was really seeing that there was a need in the industry. And I was like, at that time, I had my girlfriend, and
How old are you at this point?
19 or 20,
And
around there.
How old are you now?
24.
24.
5 years ago. Okay.
So, because then I got married when I was 21, and then we had first kid. Now looking at it, it's like there was no way that. Well, there is way because I know there's rock star surgeons out there that make family and all that work, but it's super difficult with all the schooling and all that.
Well, so when you went into construction, okay, so this is more of a, like, I'm not even trying to sound cheesy or anything, but like you're talking about the salary aspect, and you're talking about also providing value, right?
Yeah.
That other companies potentially might not. Or what did you set out for Prime Built to be? Like, what was your vision almost from the start? I know we'll get into it later as well, but why was it? Because construction, yeah, you can make money, but it's not an easy
attractive.
work.
It's not attractive
Yeah, it's not
industry.
sexy. Absolutely
No.
not.
So, to me, I was a people person. So I had a couple things that I had to, cross off on the list. I was like, I got to be able to communicate with people, be able to be around people. Like,
Right.
I didn't want to be just, hey, here's a job, go do it, and you're just sitting at these job sites day in, day out. I wanted to deal more directly with customers, designers, things like that. And then the next thing was obviously, taking care of my family financially, that kind of thing. And, those all made sense to me. And I was like, there's previous customers of mine also said that, it would be a shame if you were to leave the industry. And that was, while I was going to school. So I had these thoughts in my head constantly. It's like, am I going to pursue this medical, or am I going to stick to the construction?
Yeah.
And then, when you show up to multiple jobs and they're like, wow, we've never had a service like you, like, we'll come in and we'll literally like clean your whole house on our way out. Like, it'll look as if we're never there. Like, you got the upgrades, but we were never there because we literally, it's like a white glove service or whatever they call it.
You're delivering like heck of service with getting anything done. One thing that you mentioned a couple times, and I want to actually hop into, you mentioned with heart surgeon, it's hard to balance like work and life. Being a business owner myself, one thing that I always joke about is I didn't want to work a 9 to 5, so I started a small business.
24/7.
Yeah. So what's the fact? Do you think you work less than a surgeon now, or is your time pretty consumed in your business?
Time is pretty consumed. I'd say now I kind of have a little more freedom. We have a couple guys that I can, leave at the job sites, guide them. So I guess now I have a little more freedom, but I'd like to say, I'm not on call. I'd say take a year, how many days do I get a call at night saying that we need a service or something done? Probably pretty rare, like maybe once in a year, if that even. But at that point, it's an emergency thing, someone's house is flooding. So at that point, it's like, you make it work. But it was the biggest thing, like, I'd say probably 10 of the surgeons that I shadowed, they didn't have families, they didn't have kids, and they're like, at this point, I don't even know if I'm going to have a family and have a kid. My work schedule is too crazy. And these were like in bigger cities too, where those hospitals are usually a lot more packed, a lot more people coming in. And they're like, I met a couple guys who do have a wife and kids, and they were like, I love the industry, but the downside of it is I'm always on call. I don't really get I leave the house at 3 a.m. because I got a call come in. Sometimes I spend the nights at hospitals. Maybe the industry is different now, but it has been like 6 years or about 6 years since I've shadowed any of these guys. So maybe it's changed, but you're
talking about the surgeons, right?
Yeah, surgeons.
Okay.
So, but maybe I don't think it's changed because
Definitely
we were
hasn't changed.
we were
There's no
just
way.
at the hospital with baby number 2.
Congratulations
by the
about that.
Thank you guys. And the nurses are so understaffed. They're so overworked. They finally companies started giving them better incentives on like better pay instead of hiring all these travel nurses that get paid crazy amounts. So now the nurses, they get, instead of time and a half, they're getting double time, which is awesome. I think it's great. And, we bought them a bunch of food, just fed them. And, the president of the hospital, the president of all the nurses came to our room, and they're like, thank you guys. The nurses appreciate this. And it was like, dude, such a small thing.
That's Max Shulyak for you guys. I mean, he's just a people person right there, pulling the president of the nurses out.
I didn't do it for
Max
that.
had a kid. I'm gonna go down there right now.
Oh, Max is here.
I didn't do it for that aspect, but you can truly tell that those nurses are just overworked, and just seeing them happy. That leads back to the construction industry too. When I do a job for a customer and I see that they're like, we've had customers cry because, we don't work your typical, we come to your job at 8 or 7 and we're out of there at 4:30. You just see my taillights, We're, if we got to work 24/7 to get you in, like we've had jobs where we started a remodel and the customer, baby on the way now because, it's a longer remodel. So
that's me, man. That's me right now.
And it's kind of like, we'd work till 2, 3 in the morning getting these jobs done. So then, at least a couple weeks before baby comes, they can have their house and, everything situated. So, that's kind of the difference there.
So what is like your like day to day right now, looking as the owner of Prime Bill? I mean, how many employees do you have? You have what, 3, 4 employees?
Three right now.
Full time, right?
So run me through a day of Max.
Right.
Day of Max.
Wake up 12 p.m., bro.
Get to work
beach,
4 p.m.
Lake house.
Get home 7 p.m. It's nice.
More like go to bed at 3 in the morning doing paperwork and, wake up. So every day's different. So, some days, if we're working late the night before, say we work till, midnight or something like that, then, I'll let the guys sleep in, they get their rest, that kind of thing. We do have a 62-year-old guy working for us, and man, that guy, he busts his butt better than any younger guy would ever work, kind of thing. So, but yeah, it really just depends. So like if we end at 7 or 8, that seems to be normal. 7 to 8 or 8 to 8 or 9, 10 kind of thing.
So I like how you were like, yeah, I have a lot of freedom, man. Sounds like your average work week. I mean, you've adapted to basically be able to run like 60 hours minimum, and that's like, I feel good,
Yes,
I didn't have
It's
to
a good week.
It's
It's
a
a
good
good week. We got to sleep.
If I'm like off for like 2 days or even like one day on a Sunday, it's like, man, dude, it's like, we were on our honeymoon with my wife, and we're pretty much alike, and that was a week, and we were by the end of the week, we were like, what are we doing with our lives? Like, we are so over this vacation. It's like we want to get back to work, kind of thing.
Workaholic blood.
I feel that, yeah.
Yes.
I'll actually share something about that. So there was, and I'll actually have you get into other things, but I'll share this one. So there was a time when, and this was, I don't know how early on this was, but man, this had to be 4 years ago, maybe 3.5. Okay. So at the office that I work at, we were remodeling we were going to remodel one office, just kind of a dingy building, but this one office, we were going to change it. So we are going to put new carpet, new walls, like new paint. What else did new trim? Was it
electrical
new lights,
trim,
electrical, because the switches don't even work.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The work there, I don't know exactly how long, but I'll tell you this. Max shows up. It's a Friday night. Max shows up at about 9 p.m. Okay. So me and a coworker are there, and so we're still there. We were just working, or just even just talking or whatever. And the thing is, he starts working, right? And we kind of help him a little bit, but in reality, Max just we
just got in the way.
We're all really getting in the way, right? Okay, so we're working and all this stuff, and I think I was there till about 2 a.m. Right? I'm single. I didn't have nothing to do anyway, but like
We were all single then.
well, right. Well, so what's it called? I think he was there till 2 a.m. And he's like, it's not like he's just like cleaning up or something. He's like sanding, like the whole, like he walked out, like his hair's all white, like he's like all like pasty with like all the dust and stuff on him. And he's like, and it's like 3 a.m. and he's like going, like full on, like ready, right? Anyway, so we're whatever. I go home. I come back to the office at like about 9 a.m., 10 a.m. or whatever. And this is like on a Saturday. I come back. The dude's still there. He's still there working, like going full out, like he's got to like. This was like the first insight to me. I was like, this dude's work ethic is next level. You know what? So I want you to talk about this. There was an aspect that I was shocked about. I get there at like 9 a.m. and you're getting something out of your Sprinter, right? And so the door swings open and you're like pulling stuff out. And in the back front part of the Sprinter, what did you build back there just so that you could make sure you get that work in if it ever
there was actual
takes long?
bed there.
He had a bunk, like an actual bunk. It wasn't even a bunk. It was like a 3-foot
Like
little
a cot.
easement. And like the dude was, how many times did you have to sleep overnight for you to be like, you know what? I deserve a mattress to sleep on, even if it's in my Sprinter. Right? Like how many times did you have to stay overnight and be like, I need this? Go into that aspect of
short story of that was actually put in there by your dad.
Was it?
Yeah, when he originally had that van, and I bought it from him.
Okay.
From both our dads.
Yeah.
They put that in there because they were going to do some over the road stuff, but that never happened. And I was actually going to tear it out. And then the first job I started doing with that van, I was like, shoot,
I need this.
I'm working till like 3, and then I got to be back here at 7. Might as well just grab a couple hour nap in the van instead of driving 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes of a little power nap right there. So that's kind of
tell us about that work ethic. Like, how, I understand that. Like, where did it come from? And then give us some stories, man. Like, give us like a story of like any customer or client, something that you had to hit a deadline or something like that. Like,
work ethic. It's just honestly like what.
Ed, he's just built different, bro. Come on.
I know, but like, was it taught? Was it like a thing in your family? Which I'm assuming it was, but like, how did that come to you?
Typical Slavic family. That's usually a thing. If you don't work, you ain't eating. I'm just kidding. But
So what happened with Edward?
Well, he works. He has a job.
Hey, I loved AC way too much to work construction.
Dude, I remember coming a couple times to your dad's construction sites, bro. It was the worst times of my life, bro.
Bro,
It was actually kind of fun. We made it a blast.
I remember the days where Ilya would be working with your dad, and Ilya would mess something up, and your dad would he's like, nope, I'm done. My dad would be like, hey, Ilya, come over here, because
His brother or me?
his brother, Ilya.
Dude would eat him alive. Man.
But his dad would just eat him alive because the dude would, he was working fine, but your dad just had a certain way things had to be done. And he'd always tell me, like, I understand if Ilya were to do this, but you, Max, come on now, you're built different. I'm like, like it was the funniest thing ever to me because I was like, we're literally doing the same thing, but Ilya messes up a cut, his dad just goes off. I mess up a cut, it's like, you can do better, Max. It's like, what? So my dad would always be working with
bad, but okay.
I said, for the record, it's not this Ilya we're talking about. It's his brother Ilya.
Well, come to find out now, Ilya does not regret a single day of not working construction.
Yeah,
I'm
bro,
sure Ed
man.
doesn't either.
Yeah, I just remember. See, it's these stories that scarred me, bro. Like I'd go a couple times to the construction site, and
Why were you there? Why did is that a
some-
fun thing we did?
He arrives in a 2x4
money.
flying through the wall.
I just want some money, bro. But your dad would intimidate me just by saying, "Hey, throw the drill at my head," and I'm like, "What if I don't make it to your head?" You know?
Throw the drill at my head.
Yeah, he's like on the roof.
Oh, he's on the roof, and he's like, toss it to me.
He's like, aim at my forehead, and I'm like, oh, the pressure right now, bro, of the world.
I can't throw it that high.
It's like, what if I miss? And he's like, well, don't miss. And I'm like, it's a drill.
Tells you, throw the sheet of plywood 10 feet up.
So that work ethic obviously like was instilled by your dad.
Yeah, like just your dad, our dad, because we
they
worked together.
right.
Yeah, and it was just always, especially in summers when longer days, you'd be up, 6 in the morning, you're up. you're working until, dark kind of thing. Cause you never know what winter season will have. And then, quite frankly, now I don't really worry about it because I'm too blessed to be stressed.
Amen.
So, but yeah, it just, your mentality changes over the years. It's like,
so give us some stories. Like give us like something about a new client or like I think what's interesting.
Are you looking for a horror story? Is that what you're looking for?
Kind
here?
of. No.
I have some bad
so that's my point. So
spill the tea, man.
An idea that we have, like obviously with this podcast, is that when people are starting out, we want to hear the pains of growing, the pains of like starting, because like no one's gonna hear that. Nobody knows, and honestly, unless someone asks you, you wouldn't say it because it's like you're not a victim.
Well,
like
you live such a high paced business life that you forget to even have time to reflect on. It's like, oh, I actually went through this to come to this. It's like, to me, like even thinking about it a week, I was like, oh yeah, and business has always been good. And then I start thinking, I'm like, wait, business was a nightmare when I first started. Like that was the worst.
Tell us about that nightmare. Tell us about, because I'm like, you're doing fine now. I'm assuming there was a time when money wasn't really coming in.
Yeah. So at the beginning, it's like nothing was handed to me. I opened the business myself. A lot of people get this mixed idea of my dad just handed his business to him.
Like a small loan of $1 million.
Yeah, and I buy some stuff now, and it's like, oh, your dad paid for it. I'm like, man, God bless my dad if he's buying me all this. May he be even more blessed, so I can keep buying more stuff. But a lot of people were like, oh yeah, your dad gave you all these clients and everything. I'm like, well, I honestly don't know how to lay like brick on my own. Like once my dad does the setup, like, marks all the lines and everything out, then I can lay the brick. But as far as, like figuring all that out, I'm sure I could figure it out, but, so like none of that was handed to me. I started everything from scratch, my own clients, I went more like retail side with my clients, whereas dad was more like, subcontractor for all these builders, commercial companies.
Yeah, man.
So a whole different market. But it was, this, I built everything, I will say first off, looking back at it, if it wasn't for the grace of God, I probably wouldn't have anything. That's probably the biggest one. You live a high paced life, and it's like you forget to really give credit where credit is due.
Right.
And my wife now, super supportive, even at times now where we have to work late nights, she supports it and, understands. But I guess horror story wise,
or like even first job, like, is that memorable to you at all?
Yeah. Or? So first job, it was a smaller job. So I guess I'll go into the first job that went left very fast.
Good, that's what I want to hear.
So,
first job that went left.
First of many jobs.
Yeah.
So, as a new business owner and plus being young, I had, no business experience. So you're learning everything as you go, like invoicing, contracts. Like when he first started, it's like, yeah, everyone's, oh, this is a cool guy. He'll probably pay me. I don't got to worry about it. So you tell him price, cool, and you're able to go.
Plus, people taking advantage of you because you're young,
Yeah,
so they're not giving you the respect you deserve, basically.
Well, the mentality of, certain culture groups of like, oh, at age 19, I was only making this kind of money. So, here's this much money. The rest, don't worry about it. I'm like, well, what do you mean we agreed to this price? Yeah, so,
Don't you see the facial hair?
But, it was I'll just jump into one of the jobs. It was a renovation job. We, I guess it was a mistake, I guess, on my end too. It was like, dude, it doesn't matter what it costs. He's like, you're reasonable. This kind of thing. I did work previously for this guy. You're reasonable. We'll make it work out. I gave him kind of a rough ballpark number. Started, got it done. And it was, considered taking a full first floor of your house, main floor of your house, and remodeling it, but with one person. That was me. So like, I literally slept on his living room floor. Like he was never there. Like he was not at home ever. So he's like, dude, house is yours. Do whatever you got to do. I was like, do you care if I'm here 24/7? He's like, no, I don't care. So I'd literally, he'd work till 3, 4 in the morning. And then it's like, okay, you feel that you're drained. You sit down to relax. You doze off. 2 hours later, you wake up, back at it, kind of thing. So I got this whole job done, paid all the materials out of my own pocket. At that point, it was like, you max out all your credit cards because, you didn't really have any money in the account. Yeah. So, you do that, and then come to settle the bill. It's like, oh yeah, well, it looks great, man, awesome, thank you for working so hard. And then he's like, yeah, this and this, you're only this age. I wasn't making this kind of money. Your prices straight up said. Like he said, he's like, when I was your age, I was working at Kawasaki making, I don't know, $12 an hour, something like that. And I was like, oh, nice. I was like, nice. That was probably pretty good for, when you were there. And then he's just like, well, so, the job, for reference, he owed me probably around like 20-something thousand, and he writes me a check for like 10. So in essence, I covered my materials, barely paid some out of pocket, and so broke even / lost money kind of on the job. Good. And destroyed my health at the cost of that kind of thing. And then, just the mentality of like, yeah, it looks cool. It's like, but if I take a customer now where we work till 2 a.m. or later getting stuff done, they're like, wow, like, we've had people in tears, just like, wow, you really care about our house this much that you stayed this late to make sure it was done, so we could enjoy it for like a football game tomorrow kind of thing.
So my question is, does that ever happen now where someone tries to underpay you, and how do you handle that situation? Because like, I'm assuming this is your first job that went left, so like, I'm assuming you were kind of shocked, like, what do I do here? Like, how do you handle those situations now? I'm sure that they exist. Yeah. I don't know, but like, if someone tried to underpay me, I don't know what I'd do, bro. Especially when I'm first starting my business. I mean, like, dude, I know man, that first year is hard.
Yeah, the first couple years, are really hard because you're still trying to build your name out there.
You don't want to making money, like you
don't got the money to go hire a lawyer because you're gonna pay,
or the time,
or the time. It's like, okay, so you say he owes you $10,000. Well, by the time you settle all the legal fees, you'll probably get nothing out of the deal. You make $100. So at that point, it's like, is it really worth it chasing it? And I'm not really the kind of person that's going to go out and sue somebody. If it was something that was,
I got you.
If it's something, bigger contracts that was, signed, black and white kind of thing, then, that'd be a different story. But,
what would your advice be for someone who's starting out like that?
So make sure you have contracts in place, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be a contract. I at least shoot for like, kind of how my process goes is like, customer reaches out, I'll reach out back to them, or if I'm able to answer the phone right then and there, kind of get a feel of what they're wanting, their timeline. If it's something needed ASAP, well, usually we can't help ASAP. If it's something smaller, I can help you or work you in. But we'll schedule a meeting. We'll have a meeting, a couple hours, that kind of thing. We'll figure out, if I need to draw blueprints, if I need to go to a designer, need to go here or here. Then I'll work up the estimates. We'll meet again at your property with the estimate in hand, and we'll walk through every line item, and I'll point things out. And then if the customer has questions, like before, the norm used to be, oh, yeah, what's your email? I'll email it to you. You email it to them, then you're just like, the customer, you don't really understand what the customer felt. Was this too much?
So you're trying to lock it in right on the spot?
Either lock it in on the spot or just give them that customer service as like, how many contractors actually type up an estimate. Like, we have a nice, I probably should have brought one here, but we have a nice like matte gray prime built construction folder. Inside will go, so depending on the project, I'll do some kind of inspiration pictures on one side of the folder, and then the other side will be the estimate.
Inspiration pictures as in like mock-ups of what
man, I thought he was putting like quotes in there. Like,
no.
Dream big.
Dream big.
I'm like,
the sky's the limit.
I was like, if that works, man.
No, so it's more of like
mock-ups of like ideas of what.
Yeah, ideas. Whether it's me just scrolling through Pinterest or online, finding a bunch of things that are similar to their tastes, so they have their imagination and ideas can start getting creative.
Right.
And then here, on the other right side, we'll have like the estimate. And then there's places for some business cards. So I'll put a couple business cards, and then I usually give them a couple pens to go with it, kind of thing. And then, we'll meet. I'll go through the whole estimate, all of that. You look at it, and then at least, so the advice would be to get at least some kind of verbal agreement, whether it's an email, text format, voicemail. Honestly, I'd prefer like a text and something that you can save and upload to, I guess, the folder of files for, say, this job, say Frank's job, right. And then you have this, like, okay, he confirmed in text. So then, God forbid that ever happens, but you have to go, to court or anything like that. it's not even going to be arguable because it's like, hey, you literally verbally or through text agreed to the cost, to everything. So, it's like, what are we arguing here? He did the job. He performed the service. He should get paid.
Like making it black and white. Like
black and white, yeah.
And you're making sure to have a confirmation, either verbal or on text message, email,
just
some way
something
before you
that,
even do the job.
Yep. But you can't just have them, you could send out the estimate through an email kind of thing, or and they could reply, hey, all looks good, let's get started. You can't just have a yep, and it's like, oh, yep.
So they need to like really verbally confirm.
Yeah, something that you have a confirmation of saying like, hey, this is we're starting this job. Price is locked in, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
so
that's
obviously with
thing.
like when it comes to those kind of jobs or anything, obviously, like if someone is starting out new, what is probably something like, so obviously make sure that I would assume you agree on this, like the communication has to be there, like be a better communicator in terms of like, hey, this is what it's going to be. Make sure the customer knows that up front, so it's not like even like a blind side on them, right? Because like, because costs. I mean, I guess you can go into this as well. Startup costs and like the cost of being a subcontractor, those get high quick.
Yeah, that's actually what I want to talk. I want to talk about that first year, man. What are the financial side of that look like? I mean, like
negative $50,000 right off the bat, literally.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I believe it. Man.
I ended that year probably all credit cards maxed out, everything. Like it's like, because you gotta run the business, and you gotta pay for the living. Thankfully I was able to live with my parents for a couple years there. Yeah. But even then you still want to help out around the house, buy something there, or,
right.
That kind of thing. So then you got your own living costs too. Yeah. But
that's the least you can do since you're not paying rent.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's like you add all that up, and it's like, you're losing money on the business side, so you're just piling stuff on the credit card for everything else, kind of thing. So, it's
what's a realistic, just for anyone who's in construction, what's a realistic if they're trying to go into it as a subcontractor or trying to do, what's a realistic amount? What did you make or lose, or what was the turnover on that? Because like,
what should they expect?
What should they expect? Year one, you have almost no connections, and everything's going to cost you more because you have no idea what you're doing.
So there was I've helped quite a bit of younger guys open up businesses. That actually, some guys even worked for me. I'd open them up a business, and they'd end up going on their own kind of thing.
You made it, man. Where you're helping other people in the same industry. You're not even worried. You're confident in your industry. You're confident in yourself. You're like, I know I made it. Nobody's gonna outwork me. I'll even help you start, and you still won't be better than me. Basically, I mean, like that's just
I just giving back, and it's the world's round, so it's like it's gonna come back to you one day or another.
If you need help starting an LLC, just let me know.
just let me know.
But
we'll come full circle.
Yeah, no, it's like it doesn't take much time for me to get an LLC made for somebody or that kind of thing. So, but it's like it. Going back to, I guess,
like expectations, more expectations, like year one. Like should the person, if you're going into it, have like a piggy bank saved up, like because you're
ideally it would be nice to have a piggy bank saved up, but honestly, if you don't really know like how to direct that money into certain categories, it don't matter if you have $100,000 piggy bank. That piggy bank is going to run out really fast. So you got to know also just like, whether it, to sound prideful or anything like that, but, I have older business owners that call me up and ask me questions like, hey, how should I do this or how should I do that? Dude, I'm always willing to give advice. Like, I'm not going to charge you. I'm not going to belittle you or anything. I'm here to, I'm an open book. Like I understand we're in the same industry, but, we're not competing. I stick to a whole different thing, kind of thing, a whole different kind of service. So to me, it's like, whatever advice you need, I'm here to help.
If you don't mind me asking, can you open the book a little bit on that first year? What did your numbers look like?
Numbers, I had one card, $20,000 on that one, ended the year of that one. Probably good old $1,000 in the bank, kind of enough to make the minimum payment on that card kind of thing. And that, and then once I made the decision, so that first and second year, I got screwed by multiple customers of the same, relation. Like, I'm not gonna say
Just
like
mistakes,
who they were,
choosing
but
clientele.
just it was the same type of clientele over and over again that I was losing money on. Like one job I hired, I had my masons come in and they laid the brick for me, and it was 16,000 brick. Well, I ended up paying them out of pocket because
You have.
I still hold the relationship with them. They still do work for me, but it was like, when a homeowner comes, it's like, well, you have this piece of brick. Why didn't you get this? He's, well, it's cut on both ends. It doesn't matter if I cut this or this. If it's cut on both ends, I can't use the brick. But you could have used this here. And then you got sill stones that border the house and the brick. And you got a piece like this. It's like, obviously you center things out and you use the bigger pieces. You're not going to stick a random piece like this in. It's like, well, you should have done that. We even had a guy one time, we used 500 bags of concrete. And mind this concrete costs like a couple bucks a bag. And mind this too, I had 1,000 bags of that stuff in my storage that I was trying to just get rid of, and I couldn't, even for 50 cents a bag, and then I ended up just giving it away for free because I just wanted it out. He went through the dumpster like after we used all 500 bags and counted to make sure that we weren't stealing bags from him. Like, if you got the time, and this was actually a guy who had pretty, a business, 10 employees, that kind of thing. He went dumpster diving, pulled out every single bag that was torn, put them all together, and counted to make sure I did not steal any of the bags. At that point, I was like, okay, then this is like a whole nother level of, but.
One thing I'd be curious to say, because you mentioned something about clientele, is there, and then again, you don't have to go into details at all, but is there something, because was there like a switching point of like, okay, I'm getting, you said year of 1 and 2, I was getting like hit with like these bombs that I didn't expect, right? From a certain type of clientele. Is there something that you begin to be more specific and like be more selective with? Is there something that someone new coming in, should they stay away from like certain red flags of like, dude, just don't even, I know starting out, you're looking for anything, right?
Yeah.
That's a problem because no one trusts you. So you can get whatever your reputation is what you will build it into. Is there something that someone should stay away? Is there something that someone should like maybe try to focus in on, like in terms of picking a client or?
So, typically for customers, it's like, yeah, you want, if you're a new company, you're grabbing onto any work you can get.
Right.
And most companies, if you're a subcontractor, you usually have, all the numbers are ironed out beforehand. So whether it's through text or anything like that, I even personally, if, a subcontractor tells me, okay, this job's going to be $1,000, I will text him, say, hey, $1,000. So then he has it in his text. So then when the job's finished, you don't get this, oh, this one's it's $1,350. I was like, what do you mean? We agreed for $1,000. Well, this and this was like, well, if we agree on to $1,000, like I've honestly paid subs like who have like, oh well, I kind of missed this. If he said $1,000, then he billed me for $1,350, I still paid him $1,350. I'm just that kind of person. Like I understand, if it's a bigger corporation, then it's like, okay, guys, you guys have the office staff. Like, I understand when a smaller business makes a mistake because they're smaller, they might be understaffed, they don't, know the logistics.
Mm-hmm.
But, when it gets to like huge corporations that have, 10 people sitting in the office, come on, guys, like there shouldn't be those kind of mistakes.
Right.
But, the main thing is probably just to make sure, just to have some kind of verbal or not verbal, some kind of written agreement, whether even pen and paper with a signature with your company. Like I started out using paper invoices and I just, wrote stuff, my business information on the top, client name, and they would sign it. And it was like the ones that had three pieces, you tear one off, you keep it, you give one to the customer, carbon copies. Yeah, that's how I started.
Got a receipt.
He's like, no, we agreed to this one. But, just vetting customers too, you want to try to get as much information as you can from them from the phone. So then you're not going and driving to their house and then all you come to find out is like, hey, I'm not even going to be really doing this job because we're not even a fit kind of thing. So it really depends on like what you gear your business towards. If you're gearing your business towards like really high end finished carpentry, then, you have to make sure that those customers are okay with that.
Right.
With high end comes high costs. And especially, a fine finished sheet of plywood is $100 right now. Mm-hmm. So
wow.
build a table like this out of, an oak finished plywood, it's going to cost you almost $1,000 with all your posts and everything in brackets just in materials. So, labor automatically has to be, worthwhile for that kind of stuff too. So it's just knowing, like, you get customers that are like, hey, yeah, this is my estimate number 6. In that kind of case, I'm usually like, well, we're not really a company that people use to shop around, because most customers come to us. The biggest 2 customers that I get is, number 1 is, hey, we've seen your reviews online, we've seen your work, you were highly recommended that you don't cut corners, you're going to do a high-end job, we want you to do the job. I've had customers say, hey, I don't even need a price. I still give them a price just because
to make sure it's
confused.
It's
so
like
that doesn't happen
basic
again.
steps.
Yeah,
like,
so then you got to
Not
make sure
losing 10K basically.
Exactly. And then the second clientele that I get is like, help, my contractor just messed everything up. He just left. Everything's a mess. I need your help. And, we just this year alone, we've just been redoing houses after, some guy starts it, like, one job that we just, a guy started laying tile and never had an idea of how to lay tile. So we had to completely tear off his work, and it's,
Wow.
more cost to the customer. And it sucks that, customers, they subcontractors think that they can get away with doing crappy work.
Right.
So, there has to be a vetting process of both. It's like, hey, show pictures, or maybe, go to job sites. But typically, what I pride myself on is, if you go on Google, look at the local remodeling companies, or, companies that have been around 3-4 times as long as me. I have 50-something reviews on my Google page. They're only like 10, 12.
Let's plug that Google page. You got a website? You have something?
Yeah, just Prime Built Construction on Google comes right up, or primebuiltne.com is the
We'll put a link down in the bio. But
website. We don't get I would say, clientele-wise, we don't even. The website's there just to be on the Google page.
I hope they're ready to handle all the traffic that's going to come out.
Crazy traffic.
But like the website. So if anybody's listening to this and does websites, reach out to me. I need to revamp that sucker.
Yeah, if you want a marketing company and like a website, bro, I got you.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that. Because I need something to revamp, because I'm kind of, my Sprinter van that we use for everything, we're going to wrap that into a full matte gray, and then we're going to do like red lettering, so it'll be like a modern.
You've always done the craziest stuff with your van, dude. It always looks sick. How do you, dude, that's expensive too. Wrapping the van?
It is, but when you show up to a customer's job site and you're like, it's that level of service. When you if you show up in this janky old truck, it's like they, especially with the newer generation of customers coming in, even older customers.
It's all about that appeal.
You come to a person's house, and if you look at this house and it's just a mess, unless the person's calling you.
Away, dude. I'm not going in there.
Wrong house. Wrong house.
Unless this person's calling you to like fix, make his house look good. But typically, I show up to houses and it's like nice, well-kept houses. So like, to me, I feel weird if I have a crack in my taillight. Like, and I show up to this nice neighborhood, and I know I got a crack in my taillight, or, like just this last job, they put the dumpster on the driveway, and we had like 50 bags of thin side we had to unload. So, crazy me is like, yeah, I'm going to fit through this, but this on the other side is mud. So half your tire's on here. So, we took out the mirror. So I was like, that was the first thing that got fixed. It was like, boom, new mirror kind of thing. So
you see your van basically as a reflection of your work.
Exactly. And it's, on the van, you can't really drive it like crazy because, it's a van. Don't go too fast. You'll flip it probably faster than that.
How would you in terms of like, again, I know I'm talking about startup, but I think that like, I just know a lot of people in that industry. I'm sure plenty.
And we know a lot of people that failed in it. I mean, like,
exactly.
You've been doing it since 2016. So what is that, 8 years now?
I'd say that's
7.
About
right.
March of 2016 was when I started.
Math over.
Right. No.
It's 8 years. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you talked about we talked about wrapping the van, right? You wanted to have that appeal. Talk about this aspect, like how important is brand to this? Because there is this aspect where, even for me, the trust you have, like in terms of like, especially that kind of work, right? Because it's more of a service, right? And like, especially if you're dealing with referrals, right? Growing your business, how important is your brand? Like, and because you say I'm gonna pay my subcontractors anyway, right? Because that's like long-term thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like someone starting out, how important is it to have that, to start building the brand, even if it does cost a little bit extra.
Yeah, and just I'm gonna chime in real quick. I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to say that's the one thing too. Like of all the contractors, I don't know any. I know maybe of some other handful of contractors, but there's when I think contractor or if I need something done, no matter what it is, the person that can help me out is Max. And the Prime Built Construction in your own is a brand. Like when anybody ever brings up Max, anybody ever says like Max, he doesn't charge the cheapest, he's not the highest, but if you go with Max, you're gonna get high quality.
Quality is I've heard
I heard that
over
everywhere.
and over.
I've
seen it too. I've seen it too. So it's like, but it, like in terms
so right on, bro. You
in terms of,
tell us how you did this.
Like what focus on this? Because I remember there was times when, and I don't remember. I mean, I'm sure you remember, but I remember you were putting bandit signs around just of the company logo. Just of the company logo. Oh, you have the phone number, obviously. But like, I'm sure, unless you had someone running around putting those banners, I'm sure you were putting them up.
I was,
you know what I mean?
I was
like, I remember just driving down the street. I was like, oh, there it is. Like,
5 more feet. Oh, there's another one.
You know, so how important is the brand? How important is the trust in terms of building your type of business?
So if you go take contractors in general, not a lot of them really build, I guess, like a brand. Mm-hmm. So what I've really noticed, like, so you take John Henry's, like, they are a perfect example of kind of what I gear towards. You know their vans, like, you know it's John Henry's because you see the guy with the hammer or the wrench, I mean.
Right.
And it's like, it's kind of like almost, it looks like it's childish, but it's like, it sticks with customers, like, boom, John Henry's. And you won't find any kind of, like, the service John Henry's provides, it doesn't matter. Like, you call any other plumbing company, it'll take them. Like, yeah,
roast them, man. Roast them.
No, I'm not going to do that. But, like, you know, everybody has their different things. But John Henry's does such an amazing job of, like, hey, you call them. They're like, all right, we can have a guy out later today or early tomorrow morning. Right on. Call other plumbing companies. Oh, we're about 2-3 weeks out. Like, right. So imagine if you needed something emergency. So being able to provide that, you know, that's where John Henry's is able to charge more than other companies because they're giving something that other companies cannot even provide.
Right.
Like, they have the staff, they have the workforce able to give these, hey, next day service, that kind of thing. So, you know, I want to, you know, I've had horrible experiences with wrapping the van just because, you know, the reason I've been able to be successful is just kind of how I was raised, my morals, that kind of thing. If I'm going to do something and if I wouldn't do it in my own house this way, why would I do it for a customer kind of thing? Would I do this for Jesus? Like, am I going to leave him a nail sticking out of his, door frame or something like that?
He's a carpenter.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably nailed it.
But, that kind of thing. So that's where it really comes down to. It's like, knowing that, hey, I'm going to stick to this kind of quality. Like, there's a big difference in, like, okay, this is commercial construction, this is residential, and then this is maintenance. Like, and then you got landlord special kind of thing. Just paint right over the outlets, don't matter. That's the landlord. I'm sure you guys have seen the videos,
Yeah.
This guy, this landlord, right over the thing. But, we've done some commercial jobs, and I can 100% guarantee that I did not cut corners, I did not cut costs. We had this job that we installed 8,000 square feet of hardwood flooring. That floor was so crooked.
Hardwood flooring?
Yeah, hardwood flooring.
8,000 square feet?
How long does that take? How long does that take? Or what's the actual hours?
So
for a normal contractor, this is Max, man.
Right, but like, how long does that take?
So I'll go through the schedule of kind of that job. So, like, that job there, commercial, it's considered they don't pay the best as far as, like, installs. Like, you install tile residential for 10, commercials like 5. If you're doing a big open area.
Because you get volume, right?
So they're looking
volume,
quantity over quality type of deal.
Basically, you walk into a gas station, you see what's going on there, kind of thing. But there is some commercial sites that you come to that are actually quality. Like, this was for an anthropology we did in Sioux Falls. And, like, in the budget, there was only, $2,000 for leveling the floor. That floor was so bad, it should have been all, like, re-leveled kind of thing.
The whole budget should have went to that.
So I ended up buying a pallet that was in the budget, and then I bought a pallet out of my own money, so another $3,000 out of pocket for self-leveler. We leveled all the horrible areas. We used the premium glue, and this was when COVID shortage, everything. So, like, I had to get 55-gallon buckets of this wood adhesive because it was going down onto concrete. I had it shipped from, I believe, if I recall correctly, from Floor & Decor in Pennsylvania. So, because that was literally the only place that could deliver on a 50, my local suppliers, like, we called everybody and nobody could deliver. And this was specifically the glue I wanted to use because it was the best product. So, I paid extra for the shipping out of my own pocket to specifically, the specs actually required a different glue, which was more subpar. But, I said, hey, let's do this. I'll split costs with you. So we split the costs. I had this glue shipped in, and then I shipped it all to Sioux Falls from here. And that job there, so we worked, there. That was
24/7, obviously.
Well, we booked a hotel, so it's like, guys have families too. So, right. I told them, and it was 5 of us, so we knocked that job out in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that was, and in
Re-leveling
what a
and
dream
putting it
contractor, bro. I know, like,
So-
when we try to get stuff done at our warehouse, it's always like I gotta expect like 2-3 months. Man, we just gotta hit up Max. Max is gonna get it done quick for us. I'm such an impatient person too.
Yeah.
Like this generation, like I'm sure you know because you're in
everyone's
contract.
impatient.
Yeah, it's all about convenience. We want it quick and we want it now.
That's where it's nice when you can call one person and it's like the guy's taking care of everything. You're not calling 20 other people. It's like this guy's like, oh, I'm 3 weeks out. This guy's 4 weeks out. This guy's 10 weeks out. Well,
Max is like, I'm not gonna sleep tonight. I'll be
tomorrow.
I'll
be there.
I'll be there.
There. I'll be there.
Kind of thing. So, we got that done in 2 weeks, but, it was, I booked the guys a nice hotel. We had jacuzzi, everything in there. So in the evenings, we'd get there like
Just some bonding time with the guys in the jacuzzi.
it was honestly, it was a great time. We'd all talk, chill, have some, tea, soda, waters, some just cool drinks. And, we finished that job, but it was like anybody else who does commercial, like I've seen the stores next door and everything's just, they just slap it up on the wall. It's like, I don't have a differentiation. Like if I agreed to do a commercial job, it's going to be done at the same quality that I'd do any other job.
So
that's
that's kind of what you did different. Your brand is built on like quality no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if you want it done cheap, I'm still going to put
like
my
in essence, I can only be the one person to blame if I agreed. Like if the job costs $5,000 to do it quality and I agreed for $4,000, that's my own issue that I agreed for $4,000 when I should have said $5,000.
Right.
That doesn't mean the quality automatically gets, thrown out the door. So in that sense, that's kind of where it's where I come from. So
You talked about. You can go ahead.
I wanted to ask where you mentioned your first year. I mean, it took a big hit. Like I'm in the same boat as you. In my first year of the company. I mean, I didn't even break 6 figures. And it was a rough time. On the gross, I was sleeping on the couch, and like sounds like we have a similar story there. I wanted to ask, what was like a key turning point for you? Like when did things really start changing? We're like, okay, I'm finally like not constantly getting drowned underwater.
Getting married.
Hey, I got a wife, man. But dude, and that's crazy. I remember having a conversation with you at that one unit you were working on at 1333 Morton.
Oh,
and you were like, yeah, I know this girl. I think I'm gonna propose. I feel like that was just last year, man. You told me like 3-4 years ago.
This
I was
is
like,
what?
Oh my goodness.
How long?
3 years now?
3 years?
Yeah.
Have you guys celebrated 3 years yet?
September. Wait, so yeah, my kid's a year and 3 months old, and then we have baby 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were married for about, maybe it's 4 years now. Bro, I don't remember that.
We'll cut this part so she doesn't see it.
My wife's good on the dates.
But yeah, man.
Nah, she ain't gonna be offended.
So tell me, what was the key turning point in your business, and what changed?
The key turning point in my business, honestly, is when I kind of really just sat down and kind of focused on, because before I thought I was like, I can do everything myself. I don't need anybody. Because when I started the business, I was like, oh, you're young, you don't know what you're doing, you're not gonna have any success. This and this and it was always like you build this like super tough skin, and it's like nobody can go through it. But then it's like you got married, and it's like, oh, you got to get rid of that layer of tough skin. Like you actually have to be able to communicate with each other, kind of thing. But the biggest turning point was honestly like when you're working so many hours too. Like now we still work a lot of hours, but we figured out we make time to like we work a 20-hour day or something like that with the guys. Sometimes it happens, but we'll go, like, I'll buy all the meals that day. Like, I'll pay for all the lunches. We take, like, a lunch will be an hour, whereas most of the time, like, me and the guys are like, I give them the option to take an hour lunch. Some do. Some are like me, we grab a bite to eat 15 minutes. We're back to work kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but the biggest changing point was probably when I really realized that, first off, I want to give the glory to God, because like when I realized that He's really in control of everything that I do, that's where it really just changed for me. Like I didn't have to be stressing about like, dude, where's my next job coming from? And that is when the really better quality clientele, because I started changing my morals and standards based on like what, a Christian person's morals and standards should be. And that's when like you attract kind of the people that like, if you're that kind of person,
Right.
then that's kind of who you're going to attract. And usually, those, a lot of those older people, they'll, I've always hung out with older people and they give you the best advice. Like
Is that why? Is that why you left us, Max?
Is that why you left us? That's why you stopped hanging out with us? Oh, okay.
No, that's got busy with work kind of thing. But that's kind of where it changed, and then really just vetting your customers a lot more and actually telling them like, hey, this is what you're actually getting, versus like I don't go to estimates and I'm like, hey, hire me because this other company here is going to do horrible work. Like I don't bash other companies. Like it's a never ending circle, and like so you do one bad job, it eventually comes around and catches you later. So bashing a company, that's not going to get you anywhere anyways, because if they did bad work, it's going to come around and catch up to them. Sometimes it takes years, but a company that I'm redoing a lot of work for right now, they took over this company that was doing this kind of stuff, and years later it caught up to them, kind of thing. So but
so just being kind of, so would you say that aspect of kind of not settling, but focusing up more on, hey, this is who I want to be, this is the kind of company we want to be, and just
even if you have to say
that?
no to jobs, because at first you're like, no, I got to take everything I can get, and just do everything, and that's where I look back and it's like, man, if I hadn't taken this job, I would have, even if I didn't do the job, I would have been more profitable without even taking the job, because I ended up losing money on the job.
And if you think about it from the customer point of view too, imagine like you take a job that you can't handle. So, it would have been better for you to say no to that customer, and they would have had better relation with you. If you said no down the line, they'd give you another shot. But if you come in and you're like, yeah, I can do it, and then you're constantly, oh no, and so they can't move on because of that. So you completely ruin that relationship. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid to say no, huh?
Yeah, you have to know kind of what where that fine line is of like, if this is like gonna hurt you more than bring you any good. That's where you got to know like, hey, this maybe it's not the job for you, kind of thing.
Talk about this aspect. I think this is kind of interesting. I think a lot of small businesses they struggle with this aspect of really of in terms of growing, because you said this aspect where you were able to, own your time a little more. There was no like late night call. Well, not late night, but you know what I mean? Like you were able to be a little more in control of your time because you had people, right?
Yeah.
Talk about this aspect of the struggles that you went through, as I'm sure you did, about hiring people. Because like, again, it's not easy, especially with the work you do. Like construction is not an easy thing to just bring someone on. So talk about that aspect of how you got anybody, and like what were the things you had to focus on, what didn't work, what did work, just that aspect of growing the company in terms of actual, because you subcontracted like everying at first, right?
Yeah.
Well, like you did stuff.
I did stuff, but only
also,
what one person could handle, kind of thing.
But how did you bring people on board, and then how did you do that, and did you go,
So as far as like subcontractors go, like I typically won't really bring you on board unless I've seen your work, because and I always tell subs, I'm like, dude, give me a price that I'm not gonna have to, like, you're able to do this high amount of quality that I don't have to call you back. So like the number doesn't like be reasonable, because in essence this cost is gonna get relayed to the customer, but give me a number so I don't have to call you back and be like, yo, you missed this, and this, and this. And it usually works most of the time. Sometimes you don't, but you get into the business of babysitting adults, kind of thing.
Right.
But like as far as employees go, it's like I think it's harder for me to find employees than like other companies, because I'm more looking for, since I want to keep more installations in-house, I kind of look for more people that, can do multiple things. Like, so like, not just tile, they could, sure, I could probably get somebody that can do specifically tile, but we're always doing different kind of jobs. And even tile jobs, like every tile job is completely different. Each job, like a remodel calls for this, a new construction house is going to call for something completely different. But employees, everybody, it's hard to find employees right now, and with payroll and all that kind of stuff too, you pay them more than what they're probably, worth, like I've had guys that literally just walk around, clean trash and wash stuff for $18 an hour. And it's like, I don't sit on your back and
job application, please.
I'm looking for something on the side.
I don't, since I'm so involved in the business doing things all over the place, I'm not behind your back kind of like, hey, you missed this, you didn't do this, I kind of try to get the people that I know that, hey, they're going to do a good job, even doesn't matter if I'm looking over their shoulder or not looking over their shoulder kind of thing. But in essence, I don't want to grow the business to be super 50 employees. If I was able to find 50 employees that were like exactly like me, that up to the, super nitpicky, that kind of thing, then great. But realistically, I won't.
So you're very big on the quality of employee.
Quality, and because I want to have a good quality of the business, so I want to have good quality, employees. And I'm not saying bigger companies are, doing bad or anything.
But they are.
The bigger companies, I think, like when you get bigger, this is just kind of what I think. So any bigger companies that are watching this, don't quote me on this. But, the position I want to have in my companies, I want to be like in the company. I don't want to turn into like corporate, warranty or mitigation control, kind of like I have 20 employees. Employees are bound to mess up. Nobody's going to care about your business as much as you do.
That's true.
So it's like, I don't want to turn my business into where I'm just having to go job site to job site doing fixing these little
putting
things
out fires, basically.
putting out fires. I want to actually I enjoy doing the actual installs and the managing, the hands-on, and meeting with the customers. Like if maybe I went to like a full-on, even then I wouldn't feel comfortable because, if you leave a guy to frame a wall and then, put the drywall up, like I want to be there to make sure that everything behind whatever's getting covered up is actually done the right way. And, company cam's great because I can have the guys take pictures of stuff.
Right.
So at that point, it works out.
Right there. I know that's right. Go ahead, plug them.
Aren't you in their commercial?
Yeah, company cam. Yeah, they're awesome. But
What is it? Just do a quick.
Company cam is basically, so if you want to separate all your personal pictures with your business pictures, dude, company cam's great because I sort everything by job. I can label every picture. I can, everything's so like when I come to a customer's house and they're like, oh, this and this, I'm like, man, that's super similar to Todd's house. I type in Todd, house remodel. I pull that up and I have instantly all the pictures, and so last one remodel we did, I was able to take pictures of like, we installed this jacuzzi tub, and like I go overboard on everything, like overboard on screws, overboard on nails. Like if I'm screwing a subfloor down and it calls for 10-inch on center or anything like that, I'm going to go probably 8-inch on center already. I'd rather put more screws, more glue, that kind of thing. Not more caulking. Caulking is, very small, minimal beads kind of thing. But we installed this jacuzzi tub, and we, typical jacuzzi just is, you install it, that's it. We put a mortar bed down to make sure it doesn't start creaking the fiberglass over time. Then we bought a spray foam insulation kit, and we literally sprayed foam the whole entire tub. Like we built the frame, we set the whole tub in, and then we spray foam the whole thing. And so here recently, actually, the customer reaches out and he's like, yo, I can't get this water to cool down in my tub. He's like, every other tub in the house, the water's so cold after like 20 minutes of laying in it. I was like, well, yeah, we used, $400 worth of, they sell them at Menards spray foam insulation kit. We used the whole thing, like just beefing the whole thing.
Made it too good, dude. What you doing?
Kind of thing. So that kind of thing. But going back, like company cam was able to, I was able to show everything.
Cam, just so you know.
But that's kind of, you're able to show everybody all these pictures, and it makes you look more organized. When I'm sitting there, like this, for 5 minutes and to find that one specific picture for a customer, it's like, whereas this is all organized. So, and if I wanted to share like a whole project file, I can just send them the whole photo gallery of everything. So.
Dope. I was actually, so kind of like, then we're going to pivot here a little bit, but I was going to actually talk about types of jobs. So two things, and you can pick whichever one you want to start on. I'm interested in this aspect of, there's a saying, it's called the riches are in the niches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of specialization, you want to get into that spot. If you're specialized, you have the skill, you're known for it. That's what you do, and that's what you get paid for. In terms of your business, you guys do everything, right?
Yeah.
You do outdoor, indoor, landscape, everything. How would you advise someone to, hey, start with something, get good at it, and then start going out, or did you just start subcontracting everything, or how did you do that?
For me, I've always been like I could watch a YouTube video and I could do something that a guy has probably been doing it for a lot longer time. Like, I'm not talking like super high end carpentry kind of stuff, but like I can catch on to, basic tasks and things like that. And, even some more in-depth things super easily. So, like, I started specializing in carpentry and masonry, and, I got good at that. Then you can move on. Like, whenever something that I need, like, really specialty work done on goes beyond my capabilities, that's when I reach out to, hey, I know this guy specializes in that, and I'll pick their brain. Like, I'll research it on my own time too,
right,
to get an idea. So like a lot of times you'll get into things that you've never done before. And in essence, every single job is similar to it. Like, you never, you come to a new job and it's always different, based on, this job, this house was positioned this way, this one's positioned this way. So it's always different. So, if I don't feel comfortable doing something, right, I will find somebody or someone who I can comfortably bring to a job site to know that it's going to get done that kind of way. So, like, specialty is good. A lot of people, and I get this from a lot of other guys in the industry, like, hey, just choose one thing and stick to it. But then I get so many homeowners that are just, we do a great job. We don't have warranty issues that we have to come back and fix. So, if I was having, in a year, if I had to go and do 15 warranties from all the jobs I've done, then that'd probably tell me, hey, I think you probably should start specializing in one thing. Right. But when I've done a bunch of jobs and I don't have to go back to do warranties, that kind of tells me, like, hey, you're doing good with, with what you're doing.
If you're able to handle it, you should maybe try to, because I'm assuming if you're able to take on more, mm-hmm, you're able, like, your I guess your capacity. If a customer comes with anything, if you're able to do it, it actually helps you get started. It even, like, you'll always have work, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. So it's like, I've done a mix of handyman things. I've done a mix of everything.
I have a follow-up on that, by the way. I have a follow-up.
Okay.
So because you said you're kind of doing everything, and because you have done everything, I would want to know from your perspective, is there something that you like doing more in terms of, like, what you enjoy doing? And I'm interested in what, in terms of profitability, you don't have to go to numbers, but what in terms of, like, hey, when we do these jobs, we don't lose. The margins are high, because I know construction margins are high, obviously, with COVID, prices are just gouging people, and I understand that. But is there something that you guys, like, look at, or something that you as a subcontractor that has done pretty much everything, you're like, man, on this we make almost nothing always, or on this, like, this is a pretty good deal? Like, is there something that you would be like, oh, I'll take that on pretty much any day because my guys are good at it, and I'm able to able to make pretty good money on it.
So I'm the kind of person that I get, like, if I'm doing tile day in and day out, I
get money either way.
I make money when I sleep, dog.
I get bored. I get, like, not like bored, but it's just like, doing the same. It's like,
with
so
tile
I got
specifically.
Just anything. Like, if I do this, like, if I'm doing carpentry,
my whole business, I'm bored, bro. I'm on the
up and
dog. But it's like, tile's usually a pretty good one because, the couple guys I do have are they're, specialists in tile.
Yeah.
So I'm able to really leave them at those jobs, and, I could go, manage something else or take care of something else. So at that point, yeah, tile's pretty good. But honestly, my number wise, everything, I'm not going to take on a job that doesn't make financial sense to me, kind of thing. Like, if the numbers aren't there for me to make profit, like, I'm not going to take on a job to make 5% profit. Like,
if I'm not making 99% profit, I'm not interested.
You have to know what your bottom dollar is. And before it was like, whatever, making, you make some money here, make some money there. It works out. But now it's like, phone calls are coming in, you
got payroll
all the time.
You can choose, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have to be selective in that. Like, what should someone strive for, like, in terms of a margin at your minimum. Obviously, you can go more.
Before you go into that, I mean, when you first started, were you taking every job just to get your name out there? And then now that your name is out there as somebody that does good work, are you picky and choosy with it?
I feel like you have to.
Before, yeah, I did kind of take just every job. But even now, like, I wouldn't say that I'm declining a lot of jobs. More customers are just not willing to pay the cost of what it does to take. Like,
so you'll give a bid
premium.
anyway.
I'll give you a price, but I'll try to vet you over the phone first, and then kind of do a rough ballpark. And most customers are like, yeah, I know, I was expecting something around that range. And these are all super rough numbers. I was like, so then I can get an idea of like, hey, are you actually in the market for this or are you not, kind of thing.
Well, in the market for you.
Or, yeah, so like for me, it's like most of the customers that are coming to me are usually, like it's basic things about like, say you're doing a deck and you're using, typically everybody uses green treated boards. Well, did you know there's multiple types of green treated? There's kiln dried, which is a different one that basically it's dried. So green treated is known to twist because of the saturation of the treatment that they do to make the board not rot. So
this is why Max is the best, because he knows all the different
the greens.
That's something super cool, knowing everything about your market, about your industry. That was just super cool. I caught on to that.
And
not a lot of people know that.
You have to, or fake it till you make it, I guess. But no, but yeah, like, so like if you use the kiln dried, that's already dried in a controlled environment. So it's not letting your boards twist when you install them. And especially in the Midwest, in Nebraska, you install those. With the amount of sun we get, those boards are twisting so quick using just the base grade material. And the other difference is using the kiln dried, I can install that and then I can give it a couple weeks to dry out in the natural environments and I can paint it. Green treated, you can't paint right off the bat. You have to usually, like a standard green treated, you have to give it months. Because all that saturation needs to come out because it's not going to absorb your paint or stain. So at that point, it's all just going to bubble and peel. Yeah. So, you got to just know the differences. But like, I can freely say that I'm too expensive for customers. And I have no issues with that because in the end, I know that I'm providing a service that's better than other companies. And I'm going to use materials that are better than, normal. Because I see so many of these like remodeling and stuff done. And it's just like, man, you walk through and it's like, did the customer bother like vetting this people, or just like his number was good enough, so I'm just gonna hire him? It's like you gotta at least have some kind of idea of what you're basing off your, like, hey, I agree to this contract, but I don't know why I agreed to it. I just kind of like the dude. It has to be more than that because that's when I'm coming in and I'm tearing out those jobs that those guys did and I'm restarting from scratch, kind of thing.
One thing I hear constantly, sorry to interrupt, but one thing that I hear constantly, like it's a theme over and over with business owners, new, old, whatever it is that they talk about quality, about like that, like if you're going to do it, the moment you start really focusing on doing it right, that's when you start really like being there for a long time, right? Because yes, it's going to cost you more. You went in on that a couple times where you had to shell out, but this aspect of like
your profit margins are higher in that sense too, because you're automatically going to be charging more than the regular other company.
Right.
You don't necessarily need to be as big as those other companies. You could be a smaller company but doing better work than those companies that have been around forever, kind of thing. And they could have more overhead, but you still can charge more. Because you're providing a service that, I'm there like every step of the way. Like take a custom home, for instance. Not saying all builders are like this, but I know a few that are, pop to a job site once a month. It's like, dude, you're building a whole house from ground up. Like in a month, you could have plumbers, electricians, and drywallers in there within that whole month. And you're saying you only pop by to check after the drywall's already put up, and it's like, so you don't know what's behind your walls or what's, anything's going on
checking
there.
The quality of your work, you'd say like that's a huge, especially on these bigger
exactly. Well, and then I know prime example. It's like builder not doing his job, and the house, you could put a golf ball on one side of the house and it'll end up on the other side of the house. House shouldn't be that crooked,
right?
Kind of thing. So it's you get what you pay for is what it really is. Like if you're wanting the quality, you're gonna get the quality that you pay for. Like, there has to be a reasonable number, but, you can't expect a guy that uses, comes in some rusty old truck, using the garbage material to be only this guy here with the garbage truck rusted up, no presentation or anything,
Right.
versus this guy here, uses premium products, will take the time to describe them. You can't expect this top tier guy to be, a couple $1,000 more expensive than this guy.
Right.
This guy's obviously going to be tens of thousands of dollars more expensive because the overhead on his materials alone are going to be more. And he's, when you wake up in the morning and, you're going to work and you meet your contractor, are you going to want to meet your contractor or remodeler that, sitting here in this rusted old bucket, tools falling half apart, Ryobi tools?
Boom, bash.
Boom, Ryobi.
Yeah, Ryobis, they're meant more for homeowner tools, and I've used them, and they just seem to fall apart really fast.
What's the best brand? in your
Milwaukee.
It's a mix. I have Milwaukee, I have DeWalt, I have Makita.
But like, what would you say? What would you say? Oh, so here's an aspect that, again, I'm big on starting out because, again, we talk about the start part of it, and one thing that you talk about is quality, right? In terms of going into business, because I'm actually pretty
invest in quality tools.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like without a doubt, get the best from the start, even if it costs you a lot.
It costs you, but you're already putting yourself above most of the people there because you're showing up with a night. Like, if I come to your house as a contractor and I put everything in your driveway and it's all battery powered, and you're just like, whoa, like, that's cool. Like, I get so much homeowners that are like, wow. He's like, well, why is your table saw battery powered, but why is your chop saw, on cord and it's a different brand? I'm like, well, unfortunately, this brand doesn't have a good enough chop saw that, it just burns out. I have, I'm spending more time replacing them.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I got a Milwaukee table saw, works great. It's on a battery. The chop saw, well, we've burned through 3 or 4 of these. My buddy's done the same thing. So it's like, that's where you have to stick with the corded DeWalt. Or, they have a battery-powered option. So it's,
Is there a brand you would say, hey, if you're going to buy stuff, go buy this? Or
Milwaukee is Makita. So it really depends on which industry you're in. So, like, Makita has really good quality tools. I had all Makita tools. But then when I started expanding and I needed more specialty tools, that's when I had to, like, hey, I think I got to get into Milwaukee now. But then it's like every job brings its own different things. And then it's like, so here recently, like, we needed a small miter saw that could cut aluminum. We've tried 3 different ones, and they literally just burn out, go out. And I was like, oh, do we do a battery-powered one? I was like, well, this one weighs 60 pounds. This one weighs 30. This one weighs 25. So it's like, I had to get a DeWalt battery-powered. This is literally my first DeWalt battery-powered tool. Excuse me. We have had, like, grinders and stuff like that, but it's like each job has its own things, and it's like you want to make it comfortable for the guys. Like, I don't want the guys hauling around 100-pound saws if I can, spend a couple $100 and get them a saw that's 30 pounds, that kind of thing.
You're making sure the tools are solid.
Yeah, you got to make sure, you got to make sure everything's just built out nicely. Like, I get in my van, will show up, I got, built-in LED lights, nice shelf, everything's organized. You open up that kind of van versus a guy rolls up on his truck and opens up and the truck bed's just packed full of tools, and you're just like, what is this guy about to do to my house? It's like you think twice. So, like, being a company that considers them, more on the top tier side, that's where you're gonna have.
It's the little things that really matter.
It's the little details.
Sometimes
like
the smallest things are actually the biggest things.
Yeah, it's like if I work and I so we did this full house remodel. So we do the install, we tape everything up. Like, we try our best to mitigate dust, but it happens. So, if I have to pay, to have a duct company come out and clean it, I'll do it, that kind of thing. And so, after we finish, like, we did this house and we did floors. We did basement, main floor, this, and me and the guys, we cleaned them after we went. But then after we finished the last stage of the project, we just did a full house clean. Like, people were gone. We just did full house clean. And then, like, on my way out, I power washed the entire driveway. Because, like, the driveway was dirty before. Like, on older houses, you have the concrete's kind of, like, black. So when you take a power washer to it, you see, like, you could draw, like, designs and stuff into it. So
your logo in there,
but, like, it just, like, as a customer service thing, I power washed the whole driveway. It took an extra day to do because it was a long driveway, but they were happy. And then after that, we give them we spend a decent amount of money to give them a thank you gift, like, some apparel, some company merchandise, some gift cards, some, Russian candy, that's been a popular one. So it's just taking care of the customer.
I'd want to ask about this. I know we've been going for a while here, but I'd want to ask about this aspect of challenges, right? Challenges, and I would actually maybe, because again, when you're a business owner, you can say that like, oh, the whole world's against me and like I'm doing everything right, but there's no way you're doing everything right.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that? Like even go into like what's one of the biggest mistakes that you made early on, or even not early on? Like what's one of those things that you were like, dude, I just did this wrong. I have to fix this. I have to change this. I have to something that you went through, either it be a challenge that you had to face and overcome, or it be a mistake that you blatantly just had to outlearn or unlearn, or you know what I mean? Something.
You mean like on the business aspect or on like installation aspect?
No. Business aspect. Take your time. I'm not like, you don't got to give me the
He's like, which one should I say?
mistakes.
Why are you bringing this up, man?
No, mistakes, it's part of it, but I can't really say that I've had like bad financial decisions that we made for the business kind of thing, but
you haven't?
I have.
I was about to say, I was like, man, dude,
But
the
it
amount.
Must be nice.
I can't say that it's really been like I see everything as like, I learned through everything. So like a biggest mistake was not properly selecting customers, and I lost over $100,000 there.
Oh my gosh.
So that was one of the starting years, and it was year
Wait,
2.
hold up. You lost stop.
So first year,
Stop.
50K loss, second year, 100K
Stop.
loss?
Hold up.
Yes, and I was literally stepping on the same rake. I was like, oh man, this guy sounds like great, this kind of thing, and it's like
Stop. Okay, hold up. Stop. Okay, you lost $100,000 in your second year,
And you kept going?
and you kept going.
yes,
You
because
didn't think that, hey, I just failed twice as hard as I did the first year. I need to do it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna double
'Cause
down.
You know what comes after that? That's $200,000. That's what the heck? How do you even overcome? How old are you? How old are you when you lost $100,000?
Yeah, imagine.
I
started
think I
off
was
early.
like, that could have been year 2 or 3. I was like 19 or 20 then, and I lost.
Figure wise, I mean, you're losing 50, you're losing, like, you don't have to
So
get.
the first year, 50,000, I lost it. I was all in the red. The second year, I lost 100,000. It was.
Is this
so
losing
like,
100,000 on
hold
like
up,
a
yeah.
gross revenue of 6 figures or a gross revenue of 7 figures?
So, and this is sorry. Is this at the end of the year? I'm down 100,
No, this is more like throughout there. So it's not like you just boom. I just lost 100 grand.
Or just
like,
on-
No, I know. I've been there, bro.
It's like multiple. It's like a compilation of like multiple jobs. So it's like this job you do, like you made some profit, but you still lost money. So like, I mean, this is losing $100,000 in like revenue of the business. Not necessarily like profit, but like gross revenue.
Okay.
That was just because of contract issues.
lower bids, or
this
not
kind of
getting
thing.
paid,
Or, saying, yeah, I'll match your price. And then it's like you match the price. And it's like,
crap.
dude, I did
Why'd
not
I
look
do
at
that?
these numbers at all kind of thing.
I feel you.
So
we just on that last episode, we were talking about how in year 3 for me, I think I don't know if it was 2 or 3, you lost 80 grand, bro, in the red, man. And I was like, what are we doing wrong here? The year before that, it wasn't like crazy, but it was still red. We were like 20, 30 under.
when
Did
you're
you make money every year? Are you sorry?
Well, besides the first 2 years.
year 1, no, but otherwise every year I've not.
So year 1 and 2, you lost?
Year 1 and 2. Well, okay, hold on. Stop.
Year 2 I lost, but I was still profitable.
Are we counting year 1 and 2? Okay, in your head, are you counting year 1 and 2 when you're still in high school, or are you counting year 1 and 2 when you start going full time?
So I don't really count like
Anything before you went full time, or
yeah. So like in high school, like I guess senior year, I guess is when we could really start because I was like half days and I was literally working.
but then you had 3 years of school. Sorry, 2 years of school.
But I was
You would
still,
count those?
yeah, I'd still count those
You were-
because I'd go to school, finish the classes. Like the classes, I knew the classes that I had to show up and the classes I could get away with not showing up kind of thing. So, like not get away in a sense, but like I'd be working. So it's not like I was just sleeping in or kind of thing. I'd be working instead kind of thing. So yeah, I'd say year 1 would be senior year of high school. And then year 2 would be, freshman of college kind of thing.
Gracious, dude.
So, at that age, it was like, dude, I'm definitely doing something wrong. When you lose that kind of money at such a young age, and so, compile everybody looking at you like, dude, you're doing the wrong thing. You're working too much. Like, I'd come home and at like 4 a.m. and I'd be so like beat. Like at the end of the week, like some days you'd work like 22-hour days and you sleep for a couple hours. There were times I'd wake up and, well, my parents would be waking me up and I was sleeping on the garage floor, like just on a piece of carpet.
Didn't
just,
quite make it in the bed.
Bro, it was the decision of like, do you got the energy to shower or do you just pass out right here? It's like,
Dang,
screw
that's
it,
crazy.
you just pass out right there, kind of thing. But it's like, you know, each failure and like loss, it's like a learning experience.
Right.
Like it's like, hey, probably don't do this now. And like now I work with a lot more like respectable people that are like, they're in the market, like even the builders that we even do work for, like we're all making money. Like we figure things out to make sure that everybody's profitable. You know, if I got to come down a little bit on my numbers, like, you know, some houses, like, you know, the owners of the building company, like they're doing a house for their dad. They're like, hey, you know, we're trying to keep costs down. This is what we got in the number for you. Is like, can you make it happen? It's like, money wise, like I could go do a different job and make more money, but it's like the relationship. Like you want to build good relationships with good companies, like good people. So like when you see that a company's, you know, good to work with and things are going well, then you make things work kind of no matter what. So
here's where we're wrapping up. I just have a few more questions just real quick. If you can give me 3 tips for someone starting out in business, not even contracting, you know, you can give it on contract, but just 3 tips. Anybody starting in business, what would they be?
3 tips.
It could be 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever, just or even 2 or whatever. Just
things you wish you knew and capitalized on.
Yeah.
Things I wish I knew and capitalized on in business. Get probably some kind of an idea of like how a business should run, like some kind of business deal, because jumping into something with 0 business experience, you don't follow your books, you don't look at anything. You're just like, oh, made $10,000 on this job, and you forget, you know, 6,000 of that went to your materials, kind of thing. Contracts, that's a big one too. Make sure you have some kind of contract, some kind of something in writing, or, you know, so you can say, hey, we agreed to this is the price, that kind of thing. If you have a family, definitely don't, you know, keep the family involved as much as you can in the business. Like at the first part when I was married, you know, my wife would come and clean the houses with me. You know, we'd clean them, get them, you know, ready. She'd take care of, like, if I needed materials, you know, to save me a trip, she'd go and pick up materials. Just a lot of the, you know, little detail kind of stuff, you know, keep your family involved in it. 'Cause, you know, last thing you want to do is, lose your entire family because of a business kind of thing. Like it's, you know, like you're going to make sacrifices that are going to sacrifice family, but don't make it like still, you know, save some time for the family kind of thing.
Find out a way to balance that.
Yeah, you want to find a good balance. You know, it was nice for me. Like not everybody gets a you know, opportunity to start a business when they're not married, where you're able to invest everything. And some like, so I feel for other business owners that like they start their business, they already got a family, so they, you know, it really puts them in a tough spot because they want to, you know, they're opening the business to secure the future for their family. So like, you know, you got to be able to see both sides there. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, why did you open this? Well, I want to make sure my family's taken care of, you know, and at times it, you know, you don't get to spend as much time as you may like, you know, with the baby, you know, like, you know, we just had a baby girl born.
Is it Wednesday?
Wednesday. Yeah. I was already, you know, yesterday I got home at 11 from work. You know, it's like, I wanted to be home. Like, I wish I could be.
If you listen to this podcast,
like, I wish I could be home, but it's like, you know, when I was able to, fortunate I was able to take the 2 days at the hospital off, but then it's like, hey, you know, you got to make sure everybody's taken care of, because in essence, it's like, you know, your family's getting taken care of, and then you got to think about the families of the other people too.
You got employees, you know what I mean?
You know, and, you know, sometimes payroll, it's like, hey, we're not working because, you know, I have something going on, the guys are still getting paid, you know, the payroll, you know, if you're making 80, you know, some guys are like, we work 80 hours, you know, that's all kind of we need. The payroll's still running for 80, you know, even if you only work 50 kind of thing. So, you know, you got to make sure to keep employees, you got to make sure you take care of them kind of thing. Like buy them lunches, like $20 is not going to hurt you, man.
Even the little things that, you know, even that small of a thing that the guy knows he's going to get like food throughout the thing. And I understand it's like a small
Yeah.
thing, but I'm also getting paid.
Like it all.
and the guy cares more
food-
than just, give
Yeah.
me a pizza.
Yeah,
every time.
food,
It's like
food, and
something,
it's food. It adds up too. Like in a week, if you feed the guys constantly, it could be $1,000 a week just in food.
Them boys eating good.
Well, it's not. We're not.
$50,000 a year on food.
I'm sure that's probably
Thousand a week. It's
close.
more than 15,000.
50,000.
Oh, okay. I was
That comes out about
50, 52. Yeah, you're right.
I think I did the recalculation. I think we're already like 25,000 just in food for this year.
25,000 for food.
But that's like, dude. So like I have a couple guys that we work hard. Like they're single. These guys are ready to
I guess,
work late. And I'm always drinks, food, anything you want. Like, dude, I'm buying. Like, you want Snickers bar, you want ice cream, you want waters, teas. I always make sure. We always like especially when it gets hot, we always got a cooler stocked with drinks, ice, so you can take your pick and choose on anything. So and it's the little things like the guy's like, dude, I get fed at my job. Do you get fed at your job? No. Who do you work for? Oh, well, this guy is like, oh, okay. They hire and kind of thing.
It's your like the small things count because like everyone's looking for that kind of employee.
Yeah. And
for someone who can do it all, or is willing to.
Exactly. When you have people that are, working late hours, that's the least that you can do is, like I don't require anybody to work. Like you could work 8 hours and that's it. Like I don't require any. It's literally your personal preference how many hours you want work. I got enough work. I can give you if you want to work 100 hours a week. One week we worked 110 hours.
Everyone?
No, just me and 2 other guys. We worked 110 hours, but I will say at the end of that week we were beat, like done. But we was crazy. Like, it was a crappy situation where house was.
I have a parlay after this from that question.
It was the house has been building 2 years, 8 months in Airbnb for a customer, so we were putting some serious hours to make sure they got close.
168 hours in a week. You worked 10?
Dude, it was rough.
When did you sleep? Eat.
Oh my God.
Like a wife came to the job sites to just chill with us, visit with us, kind of thing, because it was like it was, you have to sacrifice all around the board, and I think a lot of newer business owners, they don't think that's that's really what a business takes. Like it's actual like late nights. Like even when you don't want to, you have to. Like there's been times like on Fridays, like. You got Friday service at 7, so you go to 7 to 9, and then it's like, oh yeah, you're free, and then it's like, oh shoot, something comes up. It's like, dude, the fact of like coming home, changing, showering, being with your family from 7 to 9, and then at church, and then after that, putting your work clothes back on and going back to work. Yeah. That's like, wow,
that's a
that's where
mentally even that's
like it takes some grit, And one of the younger guys, a couple of the younger guys, even that I help them open their business up. They're like, man, I did not think it was going to be this hard. It's like, dude, I never said it was going to be easy. It's like, dude, but
I think we were talking about it just last episode. Like everyone thinks the name entrepreneur is sexy, but the work that goes into being an entrepreneur is not.
Like even now, people are like, my wife has a nice car. I have a nice car. Like business is going good. Everyone's like, oh, you got it made. It's like, dude,
you don't see
you
it.
do not know that. You probably have it.
It's like took not 8 years for that.
Lost 100,000 a year too.
Not even the 8-year part, but even like today, like it's like you don't know how much like you wish you could do so much different things differently. Like, people are like, oh, you make such great money. It's like, dude, you don't know, like, I'm not that far into business that I can say that, like, I always have 50 grand in my account. It's like one day you got 50, next week you got negative 50.
Yeah, those cash accounts, they go up and down.
It's just a moving account.
When you have so many open credit accounts, like, and then at the end of the month you get all the bills and you're like, wow, there went all my profit.
We didn't make anything this week.
Like you can make great money, but it's not like
Amex Platinum. No limit. You just scan.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, man. I told him, I was like, dude, it's not gonna be easy, and you gotta you gotta realize that you're young still. Yeah, you got a wife, you got a kid on the way, but like you're gonna have late nights. Like if you really want to build something. Like you're gonna have late nights, like and if someone ever like, I heard this on a different podcast, but if someone ever says that you've made it. Even if you've been 40 years in business, then you've never truly made it. Like there's always something you can change. There's always something you can work on.
Yeah.
There's always things that can be done differently or better.
Yeah.
So
Famous words of Christian Guzman: proud but never satisfied. Man.
Exactly. But it's like you always or thinking of yourself as like perfect, or it's like I made this business all on my own kind of thing. It's like, no, man, that's like you can have the business one day and you can be bankrupt the next day.
Yep.
It's a super common thing. So it's like never, honestly, at the end of the day, the biggest thing I want people to know is like, dude, never be too prideful. Like that is probably what is going to destroy you and your business the fastest, is being too prideful. Like, yeah, you got to be like, yeah, you built this, but like at the end of the day, we're all human. We all should, act like human. You shouldn't, treat someone else like, oh, you're not a business, or you're just a 9-to-5 employee. Imagine if you treated your employees in that kind of manner. Dude, nobody's going to ever want to work for you. They're like, dude, he acts like he's entitled to everything and he treats us like that. Why go work for this guy? It's like, we don't care if he's paying us, amazing money. At that point, a worker, they want a good atmosphere. And dude, in construction, it's at times you're gonna, you'll get into disagreements and arguments. You guys might yell at each other. It's like every other business, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like, hey guys, great work. Let's go grab a bite to eat. Like you got to feel when the tensions are kind of higher, kind of thing. And when you have multiple employees, it's like sometimes you blame one employee for the thing that the other guy did, and he says, and having respectful employees, my employees are like, well, I don't want to say anything. Like, even though you were wrong, I was like, dude, don't be like that. Like, just speak freely. Like, if I messed up, tell me.
Speak freely, but say it too much
watch
and you're
it.
Gonna get fired. Speak freely, but watch it.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to ever threaten them. Like, hey, dude, if you speak,
very good piece of advice. Never threaten your employee.
If you speak too freely, you're gonna get fired. It's like, no, dude. Like, if you see that I'm making a mistake because my head's like in outer space, dude, then tell me, kind of thing. So,
but I'd want to follow up into this. Like, we talk a lot about sacrifice and obviously, clearly, with how many years you're in or whatever, you're still, having to make sure that it's on your shoulders, that you're keeping everything under your, control, and that takes a lot of sacrifice. You talk about that with your wife, kind of having to support that, and it's, I'm sure it's not easy. My point is, my question that comes with that is that, obviously, this isn't like no one can do something forever, right? Mm-hmm. I'm kind of going back to more of like your future plans, but more in terms of retirement. Do you even believe in that? Because like, obviously, clearly you're a workaholic, clearly. But I'm saying like,
no, I don't believe in a 401k.
No, but I'm saying like in terms of retirement,
especially in this economy,
in terms of retirement, as in like, is that something you're working towards? Is that what is that version for you? As well as like, someday maybe are you going to take off? Are you trying to build the business to be that for you, or you know what I mean? Like, I want to go into that because clearly you're putting in crazy amount of work into it. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be some sort of plan of like, you can't always do this. Like, you can't do this forever. Like, even health wise, like you can't always do it.
I'll tell you what it is. His son is going to grow up and
take over.
Business isn't going to end ever.
The son is one. This is 20 more years of this.
I haven't really put like too much thought into it, but like ideally I'd want to get involved in like different businesses. Maybe even like I've always considered of like doing like counseling for other business construction, like if anybody consulting, like if any other businesses here, they're like, we're gonna call this 24-year-old dude to come look at our 30-year company to but like
some of those companies need it.
Big like time. Consulting, I always like interacting with people, meeting new people, and like you travel to all these cool, like there's some cool companies out there, and being able to meet with like those kind of people, it's like, I think I could bring some kind of value to, people, like maybe not like a motivational speaker, but
maybe not.
Maybe.
But just, something along the lines of that, or getting into different businesses, having multiple businesses kind of thing.
So retirement isn't even on your,
this is my retirement plan. Have a bunch of real estate properties paid off. And there's my retirement fund right there.
Consult on the side.
So are you?
Say you have 6 rental properties, each of them bring in an average, say $1,000 to make it even. It's like you could retire off of $6,000 a month kind of thing. Granted,
that's
nothing,
your number. That's your number.
No, it's not my number. $6,000. $6,000.
Try 25.
$6,000 a month is not going to be enough for me to retire, even if I was not married. At that point, I'm working till the grave.
Because I'm sure you could. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure anyone.
Yeah.
You know, you can make it work. You
But
just
there's
have
big
less
cuts in life,
someday.
bro.
But
That's not the goal. You know.
At that point, it's like you're not going to have all the fancy stuff that you kind of, or I guess
you work for.
dream.
Well, yeah, like if you're putting in
retirement.
this work, you want to be living it like what Dave Ramsey's quote, work or live like no one else, so you can. What the flip is it?
I don't know. I don't like Dave Ramsey. Anyway.
I don't either.
It's solid. I mean, I don't agree with everything.
Yeah.
But the dude's got some very, very solid points.
He has some solid advice. I just don't agree with like everything. Like his credit, don't use credit cards at all.
I
It's like,
disagree with
I'm
that.
a
I think
huge-
you
I'm
need
a-
a leverage.
Yeah, I'm a huge leveler. Like,
especially
even in
when you're a younger business owner, sometimes the credit cards are really what get you through to like the next thing. Because like you don't want to ever pressure. Like I feel bad when I pressure like homeowners to pay or anything like that. Like most people know it's like you half down when you start, and then it's when you get closer to finish, you do another 25%, and then I usually give them 30 days. Everything looks good, everything works fine. Some of them pay right when you're done. And that's most of my customers. They pay. And then you get the occasional like, oh, I got to wait the 30. It's like, dude, I got no problem. You can wait 30 days.
Well, like
You wait 31 though. I'm coming for you.
long term,
1.6%.
yeah, long term, like you won't be like. Obviously, I think like we all agree. Like long term, you don't want everything on credit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
But I'm talking about like in terms of getting using
you
it as
do
a
it
tool to
the
leverage you forward.
The industry
you know what I
is so based on revolving credit that it's almost hard not to. Like, if I look about all the charge accounts I have, dude, everything is so based on like revolving charge accounts. Like,
Right.
It's like you got this credit account here. It's like no credit account. Like, even get into like debit cards. I'm not balling like some of those others, homies. Like, there's a limit on your debit card. Like,
Yeah, you can't keep everything cash. I mean, it's
That
just
stuff
not,
pisses me off.
dude,
I hate
you
it.
come to pay a supplier and it's like you sit on the phone for 15 minutes. Like, hey, I need an increase to 10,000, please. So it's like at that point you just use different and checks. It's like checks are great, but it's like people are kind of move away from checks now.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's more modern society, I guess, or something like that. But I prefer the checks.
Yeah.
Easier to keep track of stuff, on the books, kind of thing. So.
No, that's definitely interesting. So like, yeah, man, I just find it like super interesting of actually like how you kind of took it from. I mean, without maybe even getting into too much, or you can't do whatever you feel like doing. But my point is like, my question is coming up to like. Being where, like how important is it to you to build something, right? Because you were talking about the aspect of like I want to offer like something, like I wanted to offer a value and stuff like that. In terms of wealth creation, is it important for you to? I got to make sure that I'm, like what was the driving factor even today? What's the driving factor? Because I know you mentioned earlier on like I wanted to provide something. Also, I can make money. But like you could have done that working for someone. Why choose being an entrepreneur? Because you just ate crap for a while.
Yeah.
You know what
So
I mean?
the driving factor for me, at the first couple years, so the driving factor I think changes as the business progresses. So like the first couple years, it was like I can't, like failure's never been an option for me. Like you do it, you figure it out, and you just get it done. Like you don't just. Well, I guess I'll just go to a 9 to 5 now. I can get hired as a project manager for this company, and this. It's like, that's always an option there, kind
And
of
also
thing.
put a gun in my mouth.
Yeah. But, so it's, failure's never an option. So that was the drive beginning. It's like, dude, I got to make this work. Doesn't matter how I figure it out, but I got to figure it out somehow. And then now it's kind of turned into, the drive, your family, you got a family to support. That's, that's part of the drive. But your clients come down to, it comes down to me like client wise too. Like I want to drive to like, so more people know of how high of a quality job you can actually get done.
Yeah.
And how like you can actually like contractors and just construction people, they already have a bad rep as a scammy, that kind of stuff. So like,
especially smaller ones.
Smaller ones.
Yeah.
And it's like the point of like you can actually get a good contractor that can be your lifelong friend. Like I have customers that I did work for them like 5 years ago. They call me, hey, let's do this and this. So it's, you want to build something that, your family can respect, and then something that, you're able to actually like help people with, and that's kind of my essence of things. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what you do, you got to be able to, just do it the right way. So,
Yeah.
Love that.
Well, we've definitely hit our time limit for this episode, Max. Thank you so much for being on our podcast.
thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Peace.